Hello, my good friends. I am not live today, but I am alive. So let me play a short video for you here before we start. It will kind of give us some framework.
I can describe it to you in one short sentence so you can understand it. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Isn't that a profound statement? You will notice that it says nothing about the need for education.
The need for education. So that was Napoleon Hill. I don't know how many of you heard of him, but he was a great, great, great man. I think he was a student of Carnegie. And I used to have small cassettes with his lessons 35 years ago. And he made a big impact on me. All right, so today I want to, I made a video with 5-6 topics, and I want to go in depth in each one of those. And it's kind of a brain teaser. It will make you think, and it will make you think in a constructive way, as usual. So grab a snack or a drink or whatever you like when you watch, and sit and relax and go into what I call relaxed focus mode, because you will need lots of focus here. Because what I'm saying is just like I have a friend here that sells toys made of sponge, and they are like really, really tiny. You probably know these things. It's for babies, and then you throw them in the bath and they grow like become huge dinosaurs and giraffes and all that. So this is really how my videos are. I throw those foams at you, and then they go into your mind and they start to grow and they become huge. So today is even more so. Here is just a question, a quick teaser. Did you ever think, what language does God think in? Like when God is thinking, what language is it? Like I used to think in Hebrew, or actually in Polish probably when I was a child, and I always thought in Hebrew, and today I think in English, right? And everybody thinks in a language. So what language does God think? And also keep in mind that God started thinking before languages existed, at least, the languages as we know it. Okay, so let's go to the first more in-depth thing. And this is quite revolutionary. I will, as usual, bring it to you in a way that's digestible. Quantum physics or quantum mechanics particles is actually the brush that God is painting this reality with. Okay? Now, I want to show you something. How about if we could use it? What would happen? Or at least maybe we could use small brushes. So first I'll give you some background before we get into this topic. Do you know how the economy works? I know they teach this in school for 4 years, so I'll give it to you in 3 minutes here. Let me just go to my drawing board. There we go. So, what's in the economy? We have resources, right? And we have consumers. And consumers is basically everything that's alive on this planet, but the people are the ones that manage the whole thing, right? Now, you would agree with me that as long as we have enough resources, call it R, then we're okay, right? So why do people go hungry? Well, it's because in between here, there is the management of those resources, right? Management. And this is us. So the management of these resources is done by governments, by conglomerates, by companies, by private companies, and so on and so on. And when people go hungry, it's mismanagement by this entity here, right? But in essence, we don't go into wars on food or on water or on oxygen, or we may go soon on to a war on air conditioning. But, generally speaking, as long as the resources are enough, we will not have wars. It's just the management will have to be adjusted. We may have a war or some kind of a conflict with the management. But as it is today, the resources are enough. And they will always be enough. Again, except maybe of cold air. Because, I remember I was a child, and there was this scare going on, because I used to read newspaper when I was like 5-6 years old. And I think in 1956, they said that in the early 60s, we will run out of oil. Because according to the research at that time, the reserves were just about to run out. Well, guess what? We are now, 70-some years later? And there is more oil than we can ever consume in the foreseeable future. So there is enough resources. Okay, now let me go back to the main point that I wanted to talk about. Just come back here to my regular video. Okay. So, as I said before, God is painting this reality with the particle brush, right? Now, keep in mind that there is only 12 fundamental particles, of which everything in this reality, this universe, is made. I'll show them to you here, so you don't think that I'm inventing this. Okay, these are the particles, the yellow ones. Those are the particles that all matter is made of. The green ones are the forces that act to glue or emit energy, light, and so on and so on and so on. Gravity would be also this. So those are all the forces. And then the pink one on the right is actually the boson, which provides the mass to the particles. So they weigh something. They have a mass, right? Now, as with the resources in the economy, that they are always there, you have to realize that if we know how to manipulate, use that brush, even very little, not completely like God, we will never ever have any scarcity, because all those resources that I showed you before are actually also made of those 12 particles. And this is not far-fetched. You know that the nuclear energy, whether it's the bomb or the power plants, this is actually manipulating particles, because what we do, we go and we split the neutrons, right? And this is very primitive. This is like using a huge hammer to to work with a microscopic item, but it's a start, right? So when we created this nuclear energy, we actually started to use that brush that God is using, manipulating particles. And when we progress with this, there will be no shortage of anything. You will be able to create anything you want, except life. Life is not made out of those particles, okay? Life can only be created at this stage by God or by another life, which is also like God, right? There is absolutely no way to create life from nothing. And the theory that life was created by some kind of an accident at the early days of the universe or the Earth, it doesn't make much sense, and I'll tell you why. Because the theory says that there was extreme heat, there was plasma, there were all kind of storms, and it mixed different elements and different molecules, and then it created DNA, and so on, right? And then all of a sudden it became life. So what about if I take a dead mouse that just died, okay? And I'll give it to that scientist that has that idea that everything started from some accident. Here you already have the DNA, and it's even located in the right place. Everything is perfect. You have all the material, all the chemicals, everything is there, and it's already assembled to be alive. Well, make it alive then. Like, why can't you make it alive? Now, you have everything in place. You don't need that accident to happen. So obviously, this is kind of nonsense to say that it started that way. And again, not because I'm creationist or trying to push religion here. It's just, I always talk sense, at least my sense. It's always subjective, of course. Anyway, I hope that you understand the enormity of this concept of using this Lego, 12 Lego pieces, and actually you can create anything you want. And I'll tell you why we will be able to do it. Okay, I'll bring another metaphor here for you. Do you remember the old way of selling software? Well, old is not that old, but now things change really fast. We used to buy software on CD and then on DVD. I'll show you here an example of it. Like, I don't know how many of you remember that, but, we used to buy Microsoft Office on a DVD like that. And the thing is, when we bought that software, it had 3 or 4 different versions. It used to be a home and student and home or something office, and then there used to be a professional. There are like 3 or 4 versions, and each version had a different price, right? But when you wanted to upgrade, you didn't go and buy a new CD. You just paid online, or maybe even before that you paid in some other way, and they would give you a license key. It was a long chain of letters and numbers, and when you enter that, you would go to and unlock that part that you paid for. Now keep in mind that the human consciousness is exactly the same way. We have the stone man, and we have the iron man, and we have the and so on, and it goes all the way to God. And it's all already in your consciousness. It's physically we can say it's in your head. It's all there. It's just that the keys are provided as we progress in time, and in every period we get a new key. And then all of a sudden we become professional. So because of that concept, we will get to the point where we'll be able to manipulate those particles. All right, let's go to another interesting topic. Right now we have in the news, we have the James Webb, telescope that comes up with all these amazing pictures from stars that are 14 or almost at the Big Bang, and we'll talk about the Big Bang later on here. And I want to show you something you never thought of. When we look at a star, let's take a star for simplicity that's 1 light year away from us, right? And we point the telescope at that star, and we see. What do we see? We see what was happening on that star a year ago, because the light to arrive here takes a year, right? Now, when you think about it, you basically assume that you are looking at the star, right? So let me go back to the drawing board here again, and I'll show you something that I think is fascinating, just something that comes to my usually when I go on my walk on the seawall, this is where these things come to me. Just like Einstein, how he used to come up with everything by just visualizing, right? So let's I'm not a good no, that's an understatement. I don't draw very well, but you'll get the idea. So let's say that we have a telescope here. Okay, this is a telescope, right? And this is a star, which is, say, 1 light year away from this telescope, right? And in order for us to get a good picture of it, we need to expose or open the aperture on that telescope, say, for 1 minute. Okay? So what does it mean? The light is traveling here, right? And it took that light a year to arrive here. So in essence, we are not really looking at the star, right? We are only looking here at the light. This is all we're looking at. And all we need to have is 1 minute of, I would say, 1 light minute, which is, let's just say it's from here to here. This is all we need to get this part of that light, okay, this part here, to get a picture of that star, to see what's, right? So if, in theory, if we inserted a wall here, a screen, like this, between the star and the telescope, but it would be 1 light minute away, and we blocked it, we would still get exactly the same result. We would not even know there was a screen there, would we? So, in essence, we don't really look at the star, right? Okay. I kind of thought that was, whoops. Okay, let's start another one here. Delete. There we go. Okay. Come back here. So let's go to the Big Bang. And this is really a big one because the Big Bang is really the only non-religious explanation to the beginning of everything, right? There is no other explanation. I mean, religion has the creation and science has the Big Bang. And this is more or less acceptable, almost like a fact, that this is how everything started. Science basically embraced it as truth. And, it established that 13.8 billion years is the age of the universe. This is where the Big Bang happened. And, for us, the way we are taught in school and everywhere else is that science is based on facts, right? Religion is kind of hocus pocus, or consciousness, or anything to do with metaphysics, but science is based on facts. So what does science base this fact on, that the Big Bang actually happened? Okay, so the evidence for the Big Bang, you know what it is? It's only two phenomena that science uses to establish that fact. One is the fact that the universe is expanding, which means that it started from nothing. Okay, this is the evidence. And the other evidence is that there is what is called the background radiation. It was discovered by some Bell scientists in the 50s. If you ever had a TV connected to an antenna, not to the cable, then if there was no station, no signal, you would get snow, like psh, noise and snow. This is a microwave background noise, and it's even everywhere in the universe. And because it's even everywhere in the universe, science came to the conclusion that it started from a single point. So, for me, again, in my opinion, very weak evidence. There could be another 1,000 reasons for that. The fact that the universe is expanding, you can come up Even if you're not scientist, you can come up with many other explanations. All right. Where I'm driving this really is to come up with something that makes more sense, how the whole thing started. And this is what I'm going to do very soon, probably in the coming video, which will have everything that I know in one package. Now here is another interesting concept, and this is good even for reality transurfing. Because what I'm going to do here, I'm going to show you some very powerful parallels between the Torah and reality transurfing. And you can probably use it to move that line of impossibilities and to program, like some people say, to reprogram your subconscious to believe in things. So what I'm talking about, in the Torah, there is many times reference to, I'll give you one example, and this is in Numbers. You can go and find it. Chapter 14 and number 42. And God says to the Israelites, "Do not go up, for the Lord is not among you, lest you be struck down before your enemies." On other occasions, God says, "I am within you, go to war, they will fall in front of you." Now, what does it mean? What does it mean God is amongst you? Or God is not amongst you? Or God is within you? Like, what does it mean? It means exactly the same thing like outer intention in reality transurfing. What it means is that your subconscious believes that you're going to win 100%. And there's absolutely no way you will not win. And when your subconscious is convinced 100% that you are not going to win, you are not going to win. And this is the whole concept through the whole Torah, where God is not really coming and being there or not being there. It's just by saying so, coming from God, the subconscious doesn't need more proof than that. And then you win. And that concept is valid today, just as it was valid 3,000-4,000 years ago. So, if you somehow believed that God told you, "Look, I'm with you, go and do this and that," you probably go and do it. You wouldn't have a problem at all. Like, you believe 100%. So, it's an emotional sixth sense knowing. You realize that. So all this business with manifesting is all based on that. Is that super 100% complete belief in something. And the Torah actually is teaching you that through the whole book. So I have to give lots of credit to Vadim Zeland in Reality Transurfing, because he basically took that concept and presented it in a modern way. Very good presentation. So now here is a religious curiosity, and may not work for all of you, but if you have any knowledge in the Bible, the Old Testament, specifically the Torah, you will see something that doesn't make sense here. At least not according to the Jewish tradition. It becomes a fallacy. It doesn't make any sense. And I'll tell you what it is. According to the Jewish tradition, and this is an established thing in Judaism, is that the Torah was given at Mount Sinai when the Israelites were on their way from Egypt to the land of Israel, right? And we, the Jews, believe that the Torah that was given in Mount Sinai is exactly the same Torah we have today. Nothing changed, not even, we added the dots, the vowels, but that's a story for a different video. But this is the text, how it was given from God. And that's why, we read the Torah every week, and it comes in a scroll, and the person who writes the scroll, it costs around $20,000. It takes a year, and if he makes any kind of an error, he has to throw it away and start all over again, because it has to be 100% authentic, the way it was given in Sinai. But nobody ever asks, how can it be? The Torah describes the whole journey of the Israelites from the creation of the world up until when Aaron brings the Israelites into the land of Israel. And yet, if they received the Torah at Mount Sinai, which was quite a beginning of the journey, how come they still made all the mistakes and they sinned all the sins knowing the future? Because the Torah told them all the future. It told them basically what's going to happen for the next 40 years. If this is the same Torah that I read today, well, it has the whole story, right? So that means that when they received it, they basically looked there and say, oh, you know what, in 7 months and 3 days, half of us will die because we did this and that against God. So you think they would still do it? Doesn't make sense, does it? All right. Let's talk about manifesting. And manifesting theories. When you pray, let's say that you pray. Religious people, they go to church, to synagogue, to the mosque, right? And they pray. They read from a book most of the time, but who do they pray to? Well, they pray to some external God, right? They look always east, like we Jews look to Jerusalem. The Muslims look to Mecca. I don't know, Christians, where they look to. But we believe that God is in some location, right? If we pray in a direction, then God is somewhere outside in a location. And I say, no, God is within you. God is you, is your subconscious. It's your consciousness, not subconscious. So whatever you pray, it goes into you. And if you do it right, it's the same like what I talked before. Is God is within you, God is with you, and if you believe it, then you will win. It's the same with the prayer. If you do it right, and you can create the same effect, like the effect that what happened in the Torah when God said, I am within you or I am not within you, and you either lost or won, the prayer is exactly the same thing. And that's why, many of you probably know, I showed it in one of my videos, that I wrote a letter to myself in order to insert certain beliefs into my consciousness, right? And I recommended that to many people that talk to me in Talk for Life, to do the same thing to get out of certain situations. So really prayer, what it is, you're praying to yourself. And all the effects over the generations that prayers had, like the fancy churches and fancy other places of prayer and all that, is all really to enhance that experience so that it actually does the job inside you. Because your consciousness is really the ultimate power. It has the ultimate power over your health, your life, everything. And I said that before. When a person is dying, and say the medical establishment tells them you have, 27 and a half days to live. If they can come up with a good reason why they should not die, they will not die. Their life will get extended. And that reason has to be good enough for their consciousness. It's not for God or anybody. Because ultimately, you are in control. There's absolutely nothing else. Okay. Last one here, synchronicity. We always talk about synchronicity, right? You think about somebody and they call you. You think about a green car and you see a green car. You, you think about $1 million and you don't see $1 million. So, what synchronicity really is again, it's the same power that I described before with the prayer and the God within you and all that. It is you creating a reality. There is no synchronicity. It's just that you have that power. In that CD that I described earlier, you have the power to do it. So when you call what you call synchronicity, you actually created that reality. This is very, very, very real. And again, I'm trying to show you here how powerful you are, but not just with the cliches. I'm actually giving you, I was driving my son. I think he just walked behind me here. Benji, we were driving in Bellingham, which is a border city here across the States, right? And somehow we started talking about the Beetle, the car, the Volkswagen Beetle. And within a minute, there was one in front of us, but not the new one, like the replica, the original one. And I bet you there's probably only one in the whole of Bellingham. So this is not synchronicity. It's just that by talking about it, it just showed up. I'll give you another one. Actually, it was with Benji as well. We have a dog, Smigel here, and he's a Japanese chin. And we went for a walk in the forest, Benji and I and the dog. And somehow we were talking about another dog, a Chihuahua, and we said, if what would come out if a Chihuahua and a Japanese chin would have a baby dog, right? And we came up with the name, like a funny name. I think it was Chinwawa. Chinwawa. Just, And 10, 15 minutes later, we met some people, and they were walking a Chihuahua, and the guy said, if those two mate, there will be a Chinwawa. I never heard that before. I never said that before. And here it is, within 15 minutes, somebody else said exactly the same thing. So again, it's not synchronicity. We created that reality. So maybe me, I create more realities than other people, but everybody can do it. An interesting thing. And again, it should give you, I'm not saying, I'm not giving you right now the key here, the magic wand, how to create reality, but I'm giving you enough of this God is within you thing, just like God did in the Torah, to empower you. All right. There's one more thing here. And by the way, just a quick thing here. To achieve anything as a leader, you must drop the importance of yourself. We talked a lot about dropping importance. So if you are any kind of a leader, if you want to have any kind of influence and the ability to lead, you have to drop your own importance in your own eyes. Very important. And last but not least, YouTube, I basically want you to share my videos, right? But there's another way to share my videos, which is just as powerful. This is by subscribing. And the reason is, I did lots of research and I get lots of information from YouTube, is that the way YouTube works, they show my video more at the end of other videos, depending on how many subscribers I have. So, I know that most of you are not subscribed, because everybody I talk to, or when I looked at your comments, I can always go back and see who you're subscribing to, and most of you are not subscribing. Now, if you don't want to be bothered by YouTube, then you don't have to click on that black bell, then they will not send you notifications. But if you subscribe, you give me more power to share, because it's important that people watch these videos. All right. So all the very best to you and to yours. And I'm going to premiere this video tomorrow, Sunday at 11, so it will be kind of in lieu of the live video. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not live, but I am alive. So again, all the best, and I hope to hear your comments. I also like you to come to the blog and ask questions and give ideas, because I can talk and expand on topics that you are interested in. Just come to the blog. I'll insert the address here in the description, and I will see you on the next video.